When it's dark and dreary in these winter months, what do you most like to do? I'm hoping that some of you might say you love to sit by a cosy fire and listen to a good story. That's a great way to make your heart warm and bring good cheer. Hello everyone, I'm Kathleen Pelly. Welcome to the special omnibus edition of Journey with Story, where you can listen to all of this month's episodes in one single sitting. Oh, mums and dads, and all of you grown-ups, you might be interested in a little handout that I have available on my website that gives you lots of tips on raising kids who love to read. Of course, I know you're interested in that because you're already sharing this storytelling podcast with your little ones. So go to www.journeywithstory.com and click on the Resources tab at the top. And you can also find the link in our episode notes. Now, let's take an omnibus journey with Story. Now, let's take a journey with the first Snowdrops. Old Man Winter was sitting alone in his gloomy house, remembering proudly all his great achievements.
"No one else in the world has performed such great deeds as I have," he said smugly.
Suddenly, his thoughts were interrupted by a noise outside.
"What dares to bother me?"
grumbled Old Man Winter.
"It sounds like gurgling water, but I've ordered the waters to be quiet in their beds."
He heard another noise.
"That sounds like singing birds, but I've sent the birds far away to the south."
The door of his house was pushed open, and in stepped a young man with sparkling eyes and rosy cheeks.
"Who invited you in?"
asked Old Man Winter crossly. The young man smiled.
"I'm afraid I came without being asked," he said. "Usually everyone is happy to see me." "Well, I'm not," snapped the old man. "Why are you here?"
"I have heard many stories about your great deeds," said his visitor, "so I came to see if they are true."
"My deeds are greater than any story can tell," said Old Man Winter. "Nobody can count all the wonderful things I've done."
A merry light twinkled in the young man's eyes. "Let's see which of us can tell the greatest tale," he suggested.
"Well, I can breathe upon a river and turn it to ice,"
said Old Man Winter. "I can breathe upon the ice and turn it to a river," said the young man.
"I can shake my hair and snow covers the earth,"
said Old Man Winter. "I can shake my hair and the air sparkles with sunshine to melt the snow," said the young man. Old Man Winter frowned.
"Well, I tell the birds to stop singing and be gone, and they spread their wings and fly far away."
The young man laughed. "I ask the birds to come back, and they return and sing their sweetest songs to me." Old Man Winter didn't like to see his powers matched.
"When I shake the trees with my icy fingers and breathe on them with my cold breath, they shiver and drop their leaves to the ground," he boasted.
"I've never seen leaves on the ground," replied the young man. "When I appear, the trees are clothed in bright green and tremble with delight at my arrival."
"Huh!"
exclaimed Old Man Winter with annoyance. All night long, Old Man Winter and his young guest exchanged stories. By morning, the old man had grown weary, but the young man was merry and full of life. He turned to the open door. Sunlight sparkled outside. All the trees were clothed in bright green leaves, and birds were singing on the branches. "Welcome back, beautiful spring," they sang. "We're glad to see your face again."
"My dear friends," cried Spring happily, "let's sing together."
He turned to say goodbye, but the old man had disappeared. All that was left in his place seemed to be a few snowflakes. Spring looked closer. To his surprise, the patch of white wasn't snowflakes at all. It was a cluster of white snowdrops with their flower buds nestling among their leaves. "From now on, these will always be the first flowers of the new year," said Spring with delight. "And they are the only flowers that ever remember Old Man Winter." Let's take a journey with the Moon Maiden. In the hills below Mount Fuji lived an old bamboo cutter named Take Tori. Take Tori was honest and hard-working, but he and his wife were poor and had no children. One summer morning, Take Tori went up into the hills. The sun was hot and the path long and steep. When he reached a grove of fine bamboo, Take Tori stopped to rest. "Oh, my poor bones," he muttered. "If only we had a child to help us in our old age." With a weary sigh, he took up his knife and set to work. As he cut through a thick stem of bamboo, Take Tori noticed a green light glowing inside. He pulled out a shining green jewel as big as a persimmon. Take Tori held the glittering jewel in his hands, and as he did so, it cracked in two and out stepped a tiny young girl in a dress of green silk. "Greetings, Take Tori," she said. Take Tori was speechless, for he knew she must be a fairy. "May I live with you and your wife for a while?" asked the fairy. He imagined how happy his wife would be. "But our cottage is only a humble dwelling," he said. The fairy told him to close the green jewel and then open it again. And when he did so, it was filled with gold coins. Take Tori took the fairy home, and his wife wept with joy to have such a beautiful child. The old couple named the fairy the Lady Beaming Bright. She grew into a young woman who was as fair as the morning, as bright as noon, as sweet as evening, and as enchanting as the night. Taki Tori and his wife cherished their daughter, and she loved them dearly. With the gold coins, they built a splendid house and gave their daughter everything she could wish for. News of Taki Tori's enchanting daughter soon spread across the land, and many young men came to ask for her hand in marriage. But the lady beaming bright turned each one away. "Taki Tori and his wife are the ones I love," she would say. "My home is with them." 3 happy years passed until one day the young emperor himself came to visit. "Sweet lady," said the emperor, "I bow before you and I ask you to be my empress." The lady, beaming bright, gazed into the emperor's loving eyes, and tears fell upon her soft cheeks. "Oh, my lord, that I cannot do," she said sorrowfully. "But why not?" asked the emperor, for he saw at once that she loved him too. "Before long you shall understand," she replied. In the days that followed, the lady beaming bright grew sad. Although the emperor often came to visit, she wouldn't stir from the garden where she sat thoughtfully during the day and gazed at the moon and stars at night. One evening, as the old couple and their daughter sat in the garden with the emperor, Taki Tori noticed the full moon seemed far brighter than usual. "Look, it's sending a moonbeam right here to our garden," he said in wonder. The lady beaming bright stepped into the moonlight. "You are right, dear Taki Tori," she said. "It is the path to bring me home, for my father is the king of the moon. He sent me away for disobeying him, and now it is time for me to return. But my heart is heavy with sadness at parting from you." Down the moonbeam floated 100 Moon Maidens, carrying bright torches. They clothed the lady beaming bright in a robe of white feathers. "Farewell, my dear Earth Father and Mother," she said fondly, and to the emperor she gave a gift, a tiny bottle containing the water of immortal life. Then the lady beaming bright and her maidens rose to the moon. Taki Tori and his wife kept the green jewel and cherished the memory of their fairy daughter until the end of their days. But the emperor never drank from the water of immortal life. Instead, he poured it onto the fire. "What use is immortal life without my love, the lady beaming bright?" he said sadly, and her gift rose with the wood smoke up to the moon. Let's take a journey with how Yams came to the Ashanti. One hot day, a traveller who was journeying through the Ashanti region showed a yam to a local man called Abu. It is said that there were no yams in Ashanti at that time, and sometimes the people were without food. "If only we could grow yams," Abu said to his friends. "Then when drought comes, we could still have something to eat." The traveller explained that after harvesting, the vegetable could last for months. So Abu decided to try and find yams for his people to plant. He planned his journey and then, taking weapons for his protection, he set off in search of the vegetable. Travelling on foot, he asked the people living in the lands through which he journeyed if they knew where the country was where he could find yams. At times they pointed in one direction, and at other times they directed him in the opposite way. But at last, having travelled many kilometres, he found the country where yams grow. Looking out at the fields where the climbing yam plants with their edible tubers grew abundantly, Abu became very excited. He was so eager to acquire them that he asked the people of that country to show him where the king lived. Then, when he arrived at the house of the ruler, Abu said, "We have no yams in Ashanti. Our people are hungry because they do not have food. If you give me some of your valuable crop, I could take the yams back to my country and plant them and thus prevent starvation." "Give me time to think about it," said the king, "but young man, you may stay in my guest house." After a few days, the king summoned Abu. Pacing up and down, he said, "It would be good to assist your people, but when they are well fed and strong, they might want to wage war against their neighbours who are not so strong." The king looked anxious as he spoke. "Don't be worried," Abu said to the king. "By nature, my people are peace-loving, so you would not have this problem. I know that hungry people go to war and use conflict as a way out of their distress, but if my people were well fed, there would be no need for war." "Ah, I see that you are a man with great plans, Abu. It might be too risky to assist you," added the king. Abu looked dejected. He wanted nothing more than to bring food to his hungry people. The king was silent for a while, and then, scratching his chin, he said, "If you send me one of your men to stay here as a hostage, I will assist you with the yams." Now, Abu was one of many sons. He travelled quickly back to his father and said, "Please, father, could you offer one of your sons to the king of the country where yams grow? The young man will stay there as a hostage, but we would be able to bring a vegetable back to this country that would prevent our people from starving." But Abu's father could not bear to part with any of his sons and refused to release any of them for this purpose. "Can you imagine me sending one of my sons as a hostage?" said Abu's father. Abu then went to his brothers and asked if any of them were prepared to offer their sons for this cause. But all declined. Showing great determination, Abu then journeyed from the place of the Ashanti and went back to the king to explain that he could not find anyone to send as a hostage. "Without collateral, I cannot offer you the yams," said the king. The young man Abu was crushed. He was acting in the best interests of the Ashanti people, yet they would not cooperate with him. On his long journey home in the sweltering heat, Abu suddenly thought of approaching his sister. "Abu," she cried, "I only have one son. I would be childless if my son were to go to the Yam country. You are young, Abu, but if you had a child, you would understand why I am reluctant to send him." "Then I can do nothing about the situation," said Abu, disappointed. "Bringing yams back to this country would really help to alleviate hunger." Abu's sister listened to her brother attentively, and when she realized that the yams would improve the lives of so many people, she unselfishly agreed to let her young son go. Once again, Abu undertook the journey, and when he returned to the king with his sister's son, the king took the boy into his own home, and Abu was delighted when the king gave Abu the yams as an exchange. Carrying the yam tubers with him in a large, wide bowl, Abu hurried back to the Ashanti people. They quickly planted the yams in rock-hard, dry soil and waited for the rains to bring them to life.
When the first rains fell on the parched land, the vines put out leaves as a sign of growth, and the people became very excited. And in time there were so many yams planted by the Ashanti that they became one of the most important crops in that region. Abu then decided that because his father and brothers refused to send a son, he would not have contact with them anymore. "My sister did this noble thing," Abu told a friend. "She gave her son so that we all could be kept from starvation, so I will honor her." "How?" asked Abu's friend. "On my death, all my property will become the right of her son who went to live in the country of the Yams, so that we, the Ashanti, could eat." And so it was that when Abu passed away, his sister's son, not his own son or brothers, inherited his land and cattle. The Ashanti people exclaimed, "What a wonderful thing Abu has done in bringing yams to the Ashanti. In memory of this event, we will do the same." From that day onwards, when an Ashanti man dies, his sister's sons inherit his possession. Let's take a journey with Why the Bear Sleeps All Winter. Once upon a time, little Brother Rabbit lived quite sober and industrious in the woods, and just close by lived a big brown bear. Now, little Brother Rabbit never troubled his neighbours in those days, nor meddled with their housekeeping, nor played any tricks the way he does now. In the fall, he gathered his acorns and his pig nuts and his rabbit tobacco. On a frosty morning, he would set out with Brother Fox for the farmers, and while Brother Fox looked after the chicken yards, little Brother Rabbit picked cabbage and pulled turnips and gathered carrots and parsnips for his cellar. When the winter came, he never failed to share his store with a wandering field mouse or a travelling chipmunk. Now, in those days, Old Bear was not content to do his own housekeeping and doze in the sun and gather wild honey in the summer and dig for field mice in the winter. He was full of mischief and was always playing tricks. Of all the beasts of the wood, the one he loved best to trouble was little Brother Rabbit. Just as soon as Brother Rabbit moved to a new tree stump and filled his bins with vegetables and his pantry with salad, along came Old Bear and carried off all his stores. Just as soon as Brother Rabbit filled his house with dry, warm leaves for a bed, creepy, creepy, crawly, along came Old Bear and tried to squeeze himself into the bed too, and of course he was too big. At last, Brother Rabbit could stand it no longer, and he went to all his friends in the wood to ask their advice. The first one he met was Brother Frog, sitting on the edge of the pond and sticking his feet in the nice cool mud. "What shall I do, Brother Frog?" asked Brother Rabbit. "Brother Bear will not leave me alone." "Let us ask Brother Squirrel," said Brother Frog. So the two went to Brother Squirrel cracking nuts in the hickory tree. "What shall we do, Brother Squirrel?" asked Brother Frog. Brother Bear will not leave Brother Rabbit alone." "Let us ask Brother Mole," said Brother Squirrel, dropping his nuts. So the three went to where Brother Mole was digging the cellar for a new house, and they said, "What shall we do, Brother Mole? Brother Bear will not leave Brother Rabbit alone." "Let us ask Brother Fox," said Brother Mole. So Brother Mole and Brother Squirrel and Brother Frog and Brother Rabbit went to where Brother Fox was combing his brush behind a bush. And they said to him, "What shall we do, Brother Fox? Brother Bear will not leave Brother Rabbit alone." "Let us go to Brother Bear," said Brother Fox. So they all went along with little Brother Rabbit, and they hunted and hunted for Old Bear, but they could not find him. They hunted and hunted some more, and they peeped in a hollow tree. There lay Old Bear, fast asleep. "Hush," said Brother Fox. Then he whispered to Brother Frog, "Bring a little mud." And he whispered to Brother Squirrel, "Bring some leaves." And he whispered to Brother Mole, "Bring some dirt, little brother." And to Brother Rabbit he said, "Stand ready to do what I tell you." So Brother Frog brought mud, Brother Squirrel brought leaves, Brother Mole brought dirt, and Brother Rabbit stood ready. Then Brother Fox said to Brother Rabbit, "Stop up the ends of Brother Bear's log." So Brother Rabbit took the mud and the leaves and the dirt, and he stopped at the ends of the log. Then he hammered hard with his 2 back feet, which are good for hammering, and they all went home, for they thought that Old Bear would never get out of the log. Well, Old Bear slept and slept. But after a while he awoke and he opened one eye. He saw no sunshine, so he thought it was still night, and he went to sleep again. After another while he awoke again, but he heard the rain and the sleet beating outside, and it was very warm and dry inside. "Oh, what a very long night," said Old Bear, and he curled up his paws and he went to sleep again. This time he just slept and slept until it began to be very warm inside the log. And he heard in his dreams the footsteps of birds outside. Then he awoke and he stretched himself and he shook himself. He rubbed his eyes with his paws and he poked away the mud and the leaves and the dirt, and he went outside. But was he not surprised? It had been a frosty night when he had gone to sleep, but now the woods were fresh and green. "That was a long sleep," said Old Bear as he set out for little Brother Rabbit's house to see if he had anything good for breakfast. "I shall sleep again next fall." So every summer Old Bear plays tricks on little Brother Rabbit, but when the fall comes, he creeps away to a warm, dark place to sleep until the spring. And so have his grandchildren and his great-grandchildren ever since.
I hope you enjoyed this special omnibus edition of Journey with Story. And don't forget, if you had a favourite story, do let us know. Just go to www.journeywithstory.com, click on the Contact Us, and fill in the form. And if you want to be considered for a shout out on the show, send us your drawings there too. Click on Contact Us, fill in the form, and attach your drawing there. You can also see the link in our episode notes. Cheerio then. Join me next time for Journey with Story. Music and post-production was by Colette Jonas.